Hey guys, it's Dr. Ahmad Al-Hassin here from the Institute of Digital Dentistry in Wellington, New Zealand. And if you're watching this video, IDS 2025 is upon us and we have just had a number of new scanners released at this event. One of these is the brand new and flagship scanner by Alliedstar. This is the Sensa. Let's get into it. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what Alliedstar is, this company kinda came out of nowhere back in 2022 when they released their first ever intraoral scanner. This was called the AS100, and I actually have it right here, and I reviewed this scanner a long time ago, so you can go and check that out if you're curious. Look, back then I was frankly impressed by this thing. I mean, this was 3 years ago, and the scanner market was quite different back then. Now, although it looked kind of industrial, as you can see, something I commented about is that this did scan very well. And the other thing about this was, at the time when this was released, the software was not so great. Now, 3 years is a long time and this industry changes very fast. And so this company has been on a bit of a forward march, as since then they have released 2 additional scanners, the AS260 and the wireless AS200E. And this thing addressed a lot of the concerns that we had with the original scanner, such as the industrial look. And the company also has improved their software quite significantly. Most recently, and this probably was the most surprising, is they've actually been acquired by Straumann Group back in 2023. And this was actually huge news. Now, after the acquisition, the company has reimagined itself a little bit, and this is no doubt some influence by Straumann, because first we have this new modern logo, and you can see that on the packaging right here. And for their latest scanner and flagship, they have now dropped the very technical model names. So previous generations was AS100, AS200E, and now this new scanner is called Sensa, which I'm told stands for sensational scanning. So it's all pretty interesting, quite frankly, and there's a lot of things happening in this intraoral scanner market, and I think it's time. So let's unbox the Sensa right now and see what you get from Alliedstar. So, standard sort of packaging. First and foremost, this is the classic Alliedstar travel case. And this is something we get with almost all their scanners. Now, if we open this up, you will see that it is pretty streamlined packaging here, very to the point. Everything is quite straightforward here, quite frankly. So what you have here is you have the scanner, a charging station. So obviously this is a wireless scanner, 4 scanning tips, and some instruction manuals, and of course some power plugs. So pretty simple. So let's pick up the Sensa for a second and just talk through it, because as you can see, this is a total redesign of their scanner line, and a lot has changed here. It's quite a difference. I mean, if you compare it to the first generation Alliedstar, you can see that this is a radical change, especially even considering the latest generation before this. This is a totally different product, a lot more modern looking, and kind of looks a lot more premium overall. So just looking at the scanner, you know, it's a lot smaller than the previous generation Alliedstar scanners in both width, and it's a little bit shorter. The other thing, it has this kind of tubular design now, and frankly, it reminds me a little bit of the i900. Now this scanner weighs only 230 grams. This makes it one of the lightest wireless scanners currently on the market, even lighter than the previous generation AS200E, which was already a very lightweight wireless device. Now I am told that the optical engine in this thing has been improved, so it's not just a repackaged product. And when I briefly tested it in the clinic, look, the scanning was great, and I think as an industry we've moved away from, great scanning. I think technology now has plateaued, and if you don't have an excellent scanner in this market, I don't think you will survive. And so, I mean, this is really what I expect from Alliedstar now, which has been doing a great job with scanning for some time. I'm also told that the scanner is shockproof, and apparently it can withstand falling from a desk without damage or needing calibration. Look, I'm not brave enough to test that. It's a new product and I want to review it. So maybe at the end of the reviewing process, I'll throw it around and see if it survives. But overall, the scanner is lightweight. It has a much more modern design, and it has this unique Alliedstar feature of having 2 scanner buttons on both sides. Thankfully, no touch controls. And this idea of 2 scanner buttons on both sides is a feature that's actually pretty damn amazing. I really like it, and I don't know why other scanner companies don't do it. The other thing, it has this mode button underneath. This was a feature in the previous generation Alliedstar scanner. It helps you move through the scanning workflow. And the last thing is you've got a power button on the back of the scanner on the bottom there, and this helps you turn the scanner on and off. A couple of LED indicators, again similar to the previous generation Alliedstar scanner, an on and off indicator and a charging indicator. Now this on and off indicator also tells you once the wireless connection has been established. Now once we look at the bottom here, as you can tell, this is a wireless scanner. Now before we get into the wireless part, let's get out some scanner tips. So these are the Alliedstar scanner tips. And as mentioned, the Sensa comes with 4 scanning tips. So there are a couple of very interesting design choices about these scanner tips when compared to previous generation Alliedstar scanners. Firstly, they're a lot more rounded. So the previous generation Alliedstar scanners had these sharp edges, they were more angular. And now with the new generation, it's a lot more rounded, more modern looking. And they just generally look a lot more higher quality and a bit more premium. Now these scanner tips simply click on and click off just like any other scanner, and they only fit in one way. The other interesting thing that Alliedstar has chosen not to include in the box is any small sized or pediatric scanning tips. And they say this tip is one size fits all. And frankly, I think it's a good choice. Look, in my own experience, the small tips thing has been a market trend for some time. And if I'm totally honest, I usually find that these small tips are just sitting at the bottom of my drawer gathering dust. I barely use them. I do see pediatric patients, and I just find myself always defaulting to the adult tips because they tend to work for almost every mouth. So this is kind of interesting that the company feels the same way, but I would love to hear your thoughts though. What do you think? Is this omission of a smaller tip a bad thing, or do you think it makes sense? Just one scanner tip and give us 4 scanner tips of the same size. The other thing about the scanner tips is that the company says they can be autoclaved up to 180 times, which is quite frankly a significant number. And that is basically everything with the scanner and the scanner tips. And so this is what the Sensa looks like with a tip in place. Much better looking than pretty much anything else that Alliedstar has launched, and a huge difference compared to the original. So it's quite amazing to see this company evolve and develop. Now the last thing we get in here is a charging station, and there are some power cables in here. Now interestingly, the company has moved away from removable batteries. And what I mean by that is almost every single wireless scanner that came from China, including the previous generation AS200E, used these universal type batteries that you had to insert. And look, I guess it was okay, but it just didn't feel like the sleekest product design or a medical device, quite frankly. Now with the Sensa, this has all changed. There's no more batteries that are removable. The scanner doesn't need assembly. You don't put anything inside the scanner. You can't take the battery out. It is all built in. So there's a battery inside here, and interestingly, unlike some other competitors like Trios 5, Medit wireless scanners, etc., you don't get any spare batteries. So it is just one battery that's in here, and that's it. There are also no backup wires if your battery dies. So Alliedstar is going all in on wireless technology. And their solution to this is kind of interesting, this solution to battery anxiety. And what Alliedstar has done is fast charging. The company says they have built fast charging into the sensor battery. And the battery is also improved so you can perform over 3 hours of continuous scanning with one charge. And this is a huge improvement over the previous generation. If your battery does die, the company says with a completely drained battery, if you just charge it for 3 minutes, you will have enough battery life to complete a 7-minute scan. And so to me, this is an interesting solution rather than having backup batteries or wires. And speaking of charging the battery, this is done very simply. You just put the sensor in the base just like that and plug it in. There are power cables in here. And this will be charging your sensor, and you will see that on the LED just down here. Now lastly, the wireless technology. You get a TP-Link dongle with the scanner, and this is plugged into your laptop or PC and will connect everything together. A really standard TP-Link dongle just like we see with Trios 5, etc. The sensor uses the same wireless technology as the previous generation AS200E, which to be honest worked really well. I never really had an issue with this wireless technology. And the company says this has a wireless range of up to 10 meters, so more than enough for any clinical room. So this is all well and good. Another wireless intraoral scanner on the market, and Alliedstar, which is now owned by Straumann Group, is obviously here to compete with all other products and companies. It is going to be a very interesting next few years. What about the cost of all of this? Well, being the flagship Alliedstar scanner, the cost of the sensor is $13,995 USD. And there is an IDS launch promo that includes a 3-year warranty and drop coverage. The software also has no subscription fees, and the only other price you need to consider is the scanner tips. The cost of 2 scanner tips costs 160 USD, or 60 USD each tip. And so because the tips can withstand 180 autoclave cycles, it's around 33 cents per patient. The other Alliedstar scanners have also now reduced in price with the launch of the sensor. The AS200E is now just under 12,000 USD, and the AS260 is now just under 9,000 USD. And that is everything that you get with the Alliedstar sensor. Of course, the company has also been working very hard on their software. There's been a lot of changes. It's totally revamped from the early days. There's a lot of AI scan assistant improvements, AI oral health reports, model builders, orthodontic simulators, etc., which I will test out and evaluate in my full review. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. What do you think about this new flagship scanner by Alliedstar? Have you tried the Alliedstar scanners before? Because quite frankly, I'm hearing a lot of good things from both dentists and labs. And I think it's going to be one of these up-and-coming scanner companies to keep an eye on this year. So as always, thank you very much for watching this unboxing of the Alliedstar Sensa. You can expect a full review on this scanner once I get back from Germany and back into my clinic in New Zealand. Otherwise, to keep up to date with everything digital dentistry, go to instituteofdigitaldentistry.com. Thanks for watching.